Testing the mic. Alright, the mic's working. Alright, so this is a breakdown for Gemini New Moon 2024. I just now looked at it. I haven't looked at the chart yet. I haven't really been looking at charts recently. But it's very beautiful. So now the rising signs dependent upon where you live, so don't pay attention to the houses so much as the energetics. But for where I'm at, Minneapolis here, or thereabouts, this is the energy signature for the local space-time. Epigenetically, how light hits form, sticks to form, reflects form, is observed in reciprocity, recognition, the mirroring of energy. And what is the mirroring? It's what you find within yourself in relation in the moment, because we're all, at least for the 3D world, the material universe, it's all form. The resonance of spirit is permeating, connected to everything all at once. So your definition is through this gifted time that you have in life to feel distinction. And what you do with that is partly your choice and partly it isn't. And we generally gravitate to one or the other, the dark or the light, the oscillation, the breathing in and out of space-time, in and out of awareness, falling into the action, falling into the actor, waking up, starting the new action, falling back into the actor. Every day is a microcosm of the macro, but it's much deeper than some simple label such as that. Gemini is about details, labels, identification, finding information, and correlating it with the depth of your own relations. How deeply have you met yourself? How much shadow can you digest? If you still believe the earth is flat or that government's here to help us, then you still got a lot of stuff within yourself to churn through, to digest. If you still think there are no bad people in the world, or the bad people in the world are a result of a definition, a static definition, then you've got things to digest within yourself. If you cannot compassionate the self, you will not be able to compassionate the world, others, experiences. And for Gemini, that's a very deep compassionation. It's something that is so deep down that it stirs the mind. It activates the mind, making sense of the hyper-awareness of sensation and relation. The definition of who and what you should be in relation to, and how do you define yourself in that? Do you choose the light, the dark, or a combination? Do you choose the things and the people and the situations which hold you to a static because it empowers you in a sense of self? Or do you go with your natural, inborn spirit to grow, to change, to flow in life? Gemini is air, it's low air. It goes in all the cracks. It goes where it can go without getting stuck, and sometimes it gets stuck and you get an air bubble deep in the ocean or deep in a cave or something, and You have to work through elementalizing yourself, reducing yourself to the finest, most authentic expression of who you are to get out of that. And that's what the forge, the fire, the experiences of life do for us. It gives us that language so that our feelings can find release, a form, meaning. All right, so let's talk about the chart here. This is the new moon in Gemini 2024. I put a beautiful expression because it looks to be very beautiful to me. Look at this. You got the sun conjunct the moon. That's a new moon. So it's a dark sky. It's a fresh beginning. I was born on a new moon. I have a Gemini moon, Taurus sun. So it's a little bit of it's a Rohini signature, I suppose you could call it, if you were looking sidereally, but I'm talking Western tropical. So we've got this moon-sun conjunction with Venus. Venus, the ruler of both Taurus and Libra, the planetary ruler. We've got the South Node in Libra right now, which is the first reaching trine from Gemini if you follow Western tropical, which is more alignment with the seasons, seasonalogical. It's earth-centric. It's psyche-centric, micro to macro. That's why I like this system. So we've got this Black Moon Lilith conjunct South Node. The repressions, getting caught up in the repressions. Why? And it's trining this new moon, South Node, Black Moon Lilith. And there's a sextile to the North Node. Now trines are works. You can find a groove and work your strength into what that is. You can work the element of air into what that is, the mind, communication. And a lot of times we are caught up in habitual loops, ways of being, modes of being, interpretation. We've, like I worked in IT a long time, so my analysis of things is very systematic when it comes to systems like this. But I'm also highly Uranian, so I like to destroy systems and find the purity of what it is. Just like in life, every event, all the experiences of life, I go down to the purity of what it is. I see the results of what has happened and I know. Then after you throw that harpoon into the void of existence, you pull back the rationale, the reason, Or's law. You reverse engineer experience into reality. And a lot of people, they don't like that, they can't handle that responsibility, so they'll take someone else's version because it has more gravity, more people co-signed it, more people are in alignment with it. It gives us a much easier way to get through life so we don't have to think about all that other shit because we're churning through, devouring, mutating, digesting all of our emotional experiences. All right, so let's get back into the chart here. So new moons, you know, this new moon, it's a new beginning emotionally, or a cycle closing and realizations arising. Sometimes the cycle is a rehash of an old cycle so that you can relive it new with an updated sense of who you are. Your consciousness is no longer as limited as it once was because you can't stop it. It keeps growing. You can only try and control it, and that's how we repress our own growth, by giving away our sovereignty to the reflection, the expectation, the data. If you have all the right data, but you choose not to seek the data which stands against it, so that you can get a more holistic or a dynamic view of what that data signifies, what it actually means, then that's you repressing your own growth and the growth of others. Oftentimes, as we see in society, patent law, societal expectations, history. When you admonish people who think outside the box because it challenges your own comforts, then you become a useful idiot in this world. And you seek to be the antithesis to what that is, because it gives you a cape to wear so that you can defend the ignorant, you can defend the low, the darkness. And we don't gotta defend our shadows. We have to let them out. We have to kill them, actually. And how do you do that? You bring it to the light of yourself so it can transform. It will give definition to yourself. And then when you see the definition in the world and with others, you don't trespass so much. And just because you're aware of it doesn't make it any easier, but it means that you can understand where other people are coming from. So with this new moon, it's an emotional realization. And with Venus here, Venus essentially acting as realized subconscious awareness of what we have sacrificed, not only within ourselves, but within reason itself. How do we pull that back? Through accepting our own limitations, our own folly. Knowing that others may have judged us harshly, they have held us into a conviction which they felt was important, but it doesn't mean that we have to hold it any longer. As we see in life, everyone is here for themselves. They've got to learn and develop themselves. And part of that process is holding on to others to ensure that you don't change because you're afraid of it. So you create tradition, you create a dogma, you create system. And for a while that really works out well for everyone. You make a lot of advancements, a lot of growth, you solidify things, but then you realize you've sacrificed for that. And that's part of that action actor, waking from the dream, acting upon the impetus of what you feel to be true at that moment. When you can get in tune with the felt presence of experience, with the here now, when it matters, it doesn't have to be all the time. When it matters, then you can make conscious leaps. You can inform the language of your emotions so that your mind has a new map from which to follow, a new way to read old experiences, a new way to see and perceive. Then your mistakes, then your trials and tribulations, they don't become roadblocks, they become the material from which you're building off of. When you learn from your past, it's not a mistake. It's a harsh lesson at worst. And everyone goes through harsh lessons, but we don't have to dwell on them, and that's something I'm overcoming, and I'm sure a lot of people are. Otherwise, this world wouldn't actually function. And if you've noticed, the world wants to keep us in that state because we don't change when we're trapped in the shadow. We seek comfort, we seek conformity, we seek all these routine things so that we feel safe, so that we know where to go, how to be. But we're not meant to be like that. This is the place to experience. So I feel in this time that's something you can realize. And it could be a slow realization. It could just be one day at a time. Just honor your mistakes, your ignorance. Understand that system is there to show you. It's not there to lead you. It's a guide, just like our relationships, just like our beliefs. Your beliefs will change if you allow them to. Now, we've also got Mercury at 6 degrees in a new phase conjunction with Jupiter here, just coming out of that. Mercury rules Gemini, also rules Virgo. And Mercury is coming out of a trine with Pluto. Pluto is in a good tight trine with Jupiter here, Pluto retrograde. And Aquarius is that reaching spirit from the mountaintops through the void of Pisces into the fire of Aries, that new purity, which is what we're tapping into with Gemini here right now. So the repressions of the self actually show you your own value, or what it could be. It gives you a sense of where you can go in life. And that going is always internal, because you can't really bring the self as you are into anything new without trying to replicate the past. So you have to be comfortable with your own change, with your own sense of value, so that you can cultivate that in collaboration with the friction of life. So Mercury can and will bring that awareness to us as Mercury meets up with the Sun and Venus, and the Moon comes back around to touch him. And Mercury is the messenger of the gods, and we see we've got Uranus here opposing Pallas Athena at 24 degrees of Taurus. That's in the Saturnian degrees, and the mercurial degrees down here in Scorpio. And Uranus, modern ruler of Aquarius, co-ruler with Saturn, who is squaring this new moon. The language of the spiritual wounds of our ancestors screams for us to change ourselves and not try and focus on changing society. If enough people change themselves, society is the add effect, the reflection of that. Now, it doesn't matter what happens, change is always occurring, always happening. We can try and organize and control what that is within our own lives, within the global scale. But you're always going to create void. You're always going to create a necessity for the chaos of nature to break through the control of hubris. This is the nemesis hubris cycle type of energy. That's what Saturn and Pisces brings to my mind. So I got on that tangent. I had to touch on it real quick, but Pluto to Taurus, Uranus oppose Pallas Athena. Pallas Athena here is in the depth of the work of Gemini, the deep emotional wounds, experiences, the taboo, the repressions of the self because others wouldn't accept it. It's a signature representing this Black Moon Lilith South Node as well. Oftentimes the aspects can corroborate with other alignments in disparate ways, seemingly disconnected ways, but that's exactly what this signature brings us here, is Uranus's change. Uranus is the eternal memory of mental wounding. The mental wounding we keep playing over and over again, we find the walls to project it upon in the world, and when the walls close down we look somewhere else, and eventually there's nowhere else to look, and it comes back into us and we accept. We don't have to accept a static. Don't be just the victim or the tyrant or the savior or the martyr. Be all of it. Got to get it out of your system. You're exercising ancient demons here. The spirit is multifaceted. All of these symbols represent elements of psyche surging through you. And as it surges through you, surges through others as well. It's surging through the world, and it's how do we play with that energy? Have we learned the tuning? Have we distinguished the tones? Do we see the shades? Do we understand that we're dynamic? That's what this signature brings us, because Pallas Athena is the perception of power. And that's what brings true power to bear. It's when you don't use the powers more powerful. When you realize the power you're using is actually negating your own growth, your own potential. You know, you go to school, you become a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, and you are brainwashed into that mode of thinking forever. And a lot of systems are like that, religions are like that, all beliefs. So you have to be able to hold that and understand that it isn't a definitive. There are no absolutions, lest you sacrifice potential for it. So in these times, with Mars at 28 degrees of Aries in the North Node there, Chiron, Neptune here at 29 Pisces, which is the spiritual. In evolutionary astrology, they refer spiritual wounding. I mean, it can be that as well, a signature for that. It's a lot of things. It's all spiritual endeavors. It's the potential of the ineffable rising through the depth of your feelings to find spiritual expression in your life. So being you, not from a sense of who you've been, but who you could be, is a very powerful endeavor. That's a good investment of conscious effort at this time. If you can do that with awareness, you don't have to hold it every day. Just when it comes to you, just try and set routines in motion here. Aries can always benefit from the work of routine, the mundane, unfortunately. But that's how you transform your emotional depths. So you can benefit from setting positive routines which break you out of stasis, of staring into Medusa's stare here, into reflection, which if you've got a job you don't like, look for a new job. Try and do something that you know, a lot of people are afraid of the economy and all these other things, and we're always living in fear. You got to take, if you're ever going to take a stand for anything, it's got to be for yourself. You got to live for yourself for a moment. If the world falls to hell and you don't try and live for yourself when you had the chance, how are you going to feel then? So it's like, Hygeia, Chiron, do things that are good for your health. And not just the physical, but the mental. You know, don't look at the bullshit. Don't feed into the stories. We're being programmed by all these different narrations. Everyone is divided into the feudalism of their own psyche, and they're grasping onto things that give them reason. So we got to figure out what the reason is for authentic living, for a good life. You know, no one wants to destroy this world or each other unless they're broken, and they're only broken if they cease to see that they're dynamic, growing beings. So if you felt like you were broken, try and do something good for yourself. You know, when you were little, people loved you, and if you didn't know anyone that loved you, you loved yourself. You had no choice, otherwise you wouldn't be here now. So pay the respect to the younger self here now. Try and turn whatever it is for you that could benefit you over within. Try and use that to feed the fire of your own unique individuality. And then that light will help those others who are like you, at the very least. And then the action and the actor. Some of us are in very slow actions, you know, most of the life. Some of us are in very long or slow actors, like. So we don't all have the same rhythms, is what I'm saying. Try and find your rhythm at this time. And facing your own repressions and doing the opposite of that with the North Node is a surefire way of overcoming them. Because if fear holds you, it will always hold you. You can only bring fear to the truth of yourself, essentially. You can only face it. Otherwise, it just chases you in different forms. And a lot of the fears about your own power, your own, what you repress yourself because you don't know how to express it, because you haven't had enough dynamics in this world from which to challenge that. So challenging that is a good thing to do, knowing that you will make mistakes and you're going to have to own them up, so might as well do it consciously. Alright, let's see here. Other than that, this moon cycle should be very informative. There will be a lot of communication, a lot of active mind. Imagination will come alive. Repressions will be revealed, and they probably have been on the build-up from the last new moon in Taurus, because that is the unconscious of Gemini. So now is a chance to live that into life. What do you feel is of value to you? How do you bring that into existence? How do you mirror that? How do you look at that rather than what was, what has been? That could be a mission in these times. All right, well, that's all I wanted to say. So thanks for watching, listening, and being.